Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Rama Hare Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare Rama Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram Hare Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram Hare Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram Hare Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram Hare Ram Jai Jagannath Jai Baladev Jai Subhadra Mari Sudarshana Jai Jagannath Jai Baladev Jai Subhadra Mari Sudarshana Jai Jagannath Jai Baladev Jai Subhadra Mari Sudarshana Jagannath Swami Nayana Patavami Bhavati Jagannath Swami Nayana Patavami Bhavati Jai Jagannath Jai Jagannath Swami Jai Jagannath Jai Jagannath Swami Jai Jai Jagannath Jai Jagannath Jai Jagannath Swami Jai Prabhupada Jai Prabhupada Jai Prabhupada Swami Srila Prabhupada Jai Prabhupada Jai Prabhupada Patita Pavana Srila Prabhupada Jai Prabhupada Jai Prabhupada Patita Pavana Srila Prabhupada Jai Sri Prabhupada Ki Jai. Hare Krishna. Welcome all devotees on Zoom Srimad Bhagavatam class with ISKCON Seshadripuram temple program. So today we'll be discussing the verse number 1 to 3 of the 24th sloka of third canto. So we'll start the discussion shortly. Just give me 2 minutes. ओम ज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितामेन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति सुपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरुं श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सान्नितं तस्य जीवम् साद्वैतं सार्वभूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवम् श्री राधा कृष्ण पदम सहगण श्री जाकारिकंत हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपीश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमस्ते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी ऋषिमानुभूति देवी प्रणमामि हरि प्रिये वंशाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यः च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम राम। I'm just projecting the shloka. First shloka, 24th chapter, third canto. Maitreya uvacha निर्वेदवादिनीमेवं मनोर्दुर्हितरं मुनिः दयालुशालिनी माः शुक्लाभिव्याहृतं स्मरन्. Word to word translation by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Maitreya, the sage Maitreya, Uvacha said, Vadini, who was speaking words full of renunciation. Evam das, Mano, of Swayambhu Manu, Duhitaram, to the daughter, Muni, the sage Kardama, Dayalu, merciful, Shalinam, who was worthy of praise, Aha, replied, Shukla, by Lord Vishnu. Abhivyahrutam, who was said, what was said? Smaran, recalling, translation by Srila. Recalling the words of Lord Vishnu, the merciful sage Kardama replied as follows to Swayambhu Manu's praiseworthy daughter Devavati, who was speaking words full of renunciation. There is no purport. We'll go to next shloka. Three shlokas are there today for discussion, and then we'll continue the discussion after reading these three shlokas and purports. So, second shloka says, Rushi uvacha ma khido rajaputrita atmanam patinindite Bhagwanaste aksharo garbhadurat samprapastase. What word meaning? Rishi Uvacha, the sage said, Ma Khidaha, do not be disappointed. Rajaputri, O princess, Itham, in this way, Atmamam, yourself, Prati, towards, Anindite, O praiseworthy Devahuti, Bhagwan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Te, yours, Akshara, infallible, Garbham, womb, Adurat, without delay, from Prapatsase, will enter. Translation by Srila. The sage said, do not be disappointed with yourself, O princess. You are actually praiseworthy. The infallible Supreme Personality of Godhead will shortly enter your home as your son. Purport by Srila. Kardama Muni encouraged his wife not to be so sorry, thinking herself unfortunate because the Supreme Personality of Godhead by its incarnation was going to come from body. Third shloka. Rutraratasi bhadrante damen niyamen cha tapodrarvinam danascha sradyacheshwaram bhajo. What word meaning? Rutratas asi, you have undertaken sacred vows. Bhadramte, may God bless you. Damena, by control of senses. Niyamena, by religious observances. cha and tapaha, austerity, dravina of money, danahi by giving in charity, cha and sadhya with a great faith, cha and Ishwaram, the Supreme Lord, bhaja, worship. Translation, Srila Prabhupada. You have undertaken sacred vows, God will bless you. Hence, you should worship the Lord with great faith. Through sensory control, religious observances, austerities, and gift of your money in charity. In order to spiritually advance or to achieve the mercy of the Lord, you must be self-controlled in the following manner. You must be restrained in sense gratification and must follow the rules and regulations of religious principles. Without austerity and penance and without sacrificing one's riches, one cannot achieve the mercy of God. Kardama Muni advised his wife, you have to factually engage in devotional service with austerity and penance, following the regulatory principles and giving in charity. Thus, the Lord will be pleased with you and he will come as your son. Hare Krishna. Just I'm going to first. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Vishwapadaya Krishnavastaya Bhutale Vimade Jai Putaka Swaminiti Namane Namo Acharya Padaya Nitaya Krupa Pradayane Kura Katadamanaya Nagara Grama Tariji Namo Vishwapadaya Krishnavastaya Bhutale Srimade Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatya Desha Tarini Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaurakinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. So we'll continue discussion. Okay, so these are three shlokas. The name of the chapter, coincidentally, this chapter is getting started with obviously first three shlokas. So we are reading those three start of the chapter. And the chapter name is basically the renunciation of Kardama Muni. So just to recap, like Kardama Muni Devavati got married. Devavati is Swayambhu Manu's daughter. And she is very exalted woman in terms of first thing, she is very chaste to her husband. That's the first quality, very important quality of woman, as well as for true for husband also. Both should be chaste to each other. In case of woman, so she is very chaste. Devoti, she is very chaste, and she is very highly respectful to Kardama Muni. And she served Kardama Muni relentlessly without bothering about her own lust, anger, greed, or bodily comfort. So she did a lot of tapascharya, substantial tapascharya of great sage Kardama Muni. Kardama Muni is sort of Prajapati who has been entrusted with the task of creating the progeny, because this is happening in the Swayambhu Manu's Manvantara. And Swayambhu Manu himself offered her daughter to Kardama Muni to continue the task of creating the progeny or population, because this is like creation of universe, it's part of creation of universe. So, and he's a great sage, very great austere sage, and he did a very high level of austerity, and Lord Krishna himself gave him the darshan and blessed him, saying that because Kardama Muni requested, you please bless me, help me in continuing this Prajapati's duty. And Lord Krishna blessed him and saying that, yes, you will get a suitable wife, very chaste, very faithful, and very austere wife. And you can continue your mission of this Prajapati, and then obviously then there was a marriage, and Devavati served her husband. Padmamuni did very high austerity, and they actually did yajna sort of thing. Although it's apparently for a common man, it may look like a sex-like, but it is actually the austerity, and it's actually in a very dutiful way. It's like a typical grostas, the real grostas purpose. Yes, there is a sense enjoyment in grosta life, but the purpose is to serve Lord. Engage your senses in service of Lord. So they engage their senses in service of Lord in terms of helping Lord uh, for the Prajapati mission, and both were engaged very faithfully to each other, and with lot of austerities, controls. They uh, got united, and there was 9 daughters and 1 son. The son which is mentioned here is basically the Lord himself as a Leela Avatar. It's called Lord Kapila, who gave the Sankhya philosophy, which is a devotional Sankhya philosophy, not atheistic Sankhya philosophy. The atheistic Sankhya philosophy came later at the perversion, but the original Sankhya philosophy, which purpose is basically to have devotional service, direct house to devotional service. That's the Sankhya. Lord Kapila was to come, and that was in the home of Devavati Kardamuni. So this is mentioned in second sloka, where Kardamuni tells that you will get a son of Lord Kapila. So you don't have to worry. So basically, this is a preamble, and Devavati is sort of lamenting. The earlier chapter is sort of lamenting in the sense she is now like Kardamuni was to live now for austerity and further as a sannyas. And Devavati was little bit worried, saying that there are two things. Worried in the sense she was not really worried about her own bodily safety, but she was worried about losing the association of Kardamuni. And of course, she expressed saying that okay, we were like you will be living for a higher purpose of sannyas life, but I should not. So she was requesting Kardamuni to bless her, saying that she should be fearless and continue, develop that renunciation like Kardamuni did. After leaving Kardamuni. But she was very happy in one sense, saying that she got association of Kardamuni, who is a great saintly person. So association is very important. And she was a little bit worried about that part. I will lose the association of it. Okay. And women by nature are emotional, so she was that way emotional also. But she was worried on other aspect also. She did austerity. Of course, she is very humble also. Very humbly, she is expressing that although she did austerity, but she could not develop that renunciation. Actually, she was renouncing, but she was basically, this is Bhagavatam. What we should understand is Lord or his devotees are, especially devotees are sometimes, or most of the time, they are playing, representing us. They are teaching us how to, have our right consciousness, how we should be in the right consciousness. See here, Devotee example, Kardamamuni's examples are basically telling us how even Grostha life should be. Grostha's husband wife should have consciousness. There should be always a consciousness of austerity and renunciation, and we should be fully devoted to Lord. That's what this third sloka said. We'll come back to that third sloka. But this is how. So she was, and she was a little bit not very happy with herself. In spite of living, associating with Kardama Muni as a very saintly person, devotee, she could not develop that renunciation of the material world. That's what she was thinking. It's more of a consciousness, and she was more or less, it is for us actually, ideally speaking. Okay. And she was a bit worried on that possibly. I want that renunciation because if you see the like we get involved into karma, right? Our activity. Karma means activities. But if they are fruitive activities, which most of the time we get engaged due to our ignorance and not realizing that it's Lord's, ultimately everything is for Lord. And if we are not fully devoted to Lord, we get karma bandhanas, like karma granthi, they will call it. Like it's like a ropes of karma fruits, our karmic reactions, fruits, good or bad. They're like a rope. That's why they are called karma granthi. They keep us binding, 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 and it's not easy to come out of that. So she was sort of, because things are, we get attached to our karma and karma phalas, and that's a very complicated network, and it's not easy to come out of that unless we are renounced and devote and surrender to Lord, right? So this is sort of, this is a case. That's why whole Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam is basically to mean for, to cut this knot of this community. Now, the most important thing is that basically we should not identify ourselves with body. So problem is we identify ourselves with that particular role what we play, right? Suppose we are playing role of husband, we are playing role of wife, we are playing role of manager, we are playing in material life, we are playing role of some businessman, whatever may be the role. So generally, I'm bringing this point just to close that loop. Then we'll go back to the main content also. So because we are attached to that role, because we think we are body, and that body is nothing but some particular body is meant for playing that role, and we get attached to that role, and we think that we are those roles. We think I'm manager, we think I'm businessman, we think I'm engineer, we think I'm this, that, and we identify ourselves with that role, and that gives karma bandhana. But if you identify ourselves as a soul, I'm the servant of Lord Krishna. I'm the soul. Soul's identity is servant of the Lord. Right? Our constitutional position is servant. We are part and parcel of whole Lord Krishna. So if you keep identifying ourselves always and keep worshipping Lord Krishna in this mood, always praying that let me have that consciousness, please help me in having that consciousness, always serving. Then this role play business will stop. Otherwise, we are playing the role, we are getting attached to. Playing the role is not a problem. Playing the role of engineer, playing the role of manager, playing the role of businessman is not a problem. Problem is we are thinking we are that role, and we are getting involved into that in so much so that we think, and then all karma bandhanas, all mind hallucinations or illusions attached with that role. We think we are going through that, and then that's attachment, and that's what everywhere it happens. So you should not think we are that role. We think that's only my medium, or it's only the tool to develop the right consciousness. I'm an engineer, so I'll use an engineer as a earning the money, doing some so-called mental work of innovation, this, that, do some activities there, and use that our whole thing for Lord's service ultimately, this way or that way. So as long as we have this consciousness, we will slowly develop the detachment, because here the detachment point is Devai is lamenting that she's not able to develop the detachment, right? She is lamenting that the Maya overpowered us her, and she remained in illusion. I mean, that's more of a humility. Out of humility, she's saying she was very chaste woman and very detached woman, but that's the way Bhagavatam's lila are like that. So we need to understand. So detachment is something which is very important. That will get developed easily if you understand this very philosophical point, that we are philosophical in the sense It is a reality. Of course, we have to understand this fact that we are soul, we are not body, and whatever role play we are doing, we are not that role play. We are basically using that role play, but we are different, and we are servant of Krishna, and we have to use that role play to develop the right consciousness. So now we discuss what is devotee's lamentation. Now, so first shloka, not much purport, but first shloka says, recalling the words of Lord Vishnu, merciful says Karnama replied as follows to the Swayambhur Manus devotee who was speaking full of renunciation. Okay, she was actually renounced, but she was sort of lamenting because that's her feeling. But then second shloka says, do not be disappointed with yourself. Kardama Muni says to devotee, do not be disappointed with yourself. Oh princess, you are actually praiseworthy. The infallible Supreme Personality of Godhead will shortly enter your home. See, the Supreme Personality, Lord cannot enter anybody's home or take birth with that parent unless they are very highly elevated devotee. So that's what. But she was more of a, out of humility, she was expressing that lamentation. But actually she was highly elevated. Even Kardama Muni appreciates her. And in the next shloka, Kardama Muni sort of, gives her instruction how to actually, continue her next life and develop the attachment to Lord and develop the detachment from material world by, Dhruva Ratasi Vadrante Damena Niyamena Cha Tapodravina Danascha Dhradyaha Cheshwaram Bhaja. Means you have undertaken sacred oath. God will bless you. Hence, you should worship the Lord with great faith through sensory control, religious observances, austerity, and gift of your money in charity. So Prabhupada explains here, in order to spiritually advance or achieve the mercy of Lord, you must be self-controlled in the following manner. Prabhupada explains more. You can be self-controlled by sense gratification, restraining the self-gratification, and following rules and regulation. Niyama. Niyama means following rules of regulation. Restraining the self gratification is damena. Without austerity and penance and without sacrifice means we should have sacrifices or whatever money we have, we should give it to charity to the right persons, the right institutes like ISKCON, and devotees use them or use it for Lord's purpose and have austerity. Austerity means voluntary. We give voluntary discomfort to the body, little bit, so that we develop that practice of controlling the whole mind, and that's called austerity. We give voluntary, discomfort to the body, so that our body doesn't trouble us, and it's like a controlling the body slowly, and it's voluntary. We don't get too much extreme where you suffer yourself. I mean, it damages the whole body, or it doesn't go to that extreme. But it is. But we have to come out of little bit out of comfort zone at the day to day, and have a little bit. Like for example, fasting is austerity. Fasting is basically coming out of comfort zone in a very proper way, calculated way. But we should not fast 3-4 days at a time and then get into trouble. Right. So that's the way. Okay. And just to explain. Kardama Muni advised his wife, you have to factually engage in devotional service with austerity and penance, following the regulatory principles and giving charity. Then Supreme Lord will be pleased with you and he will come to you as son. So it's very important, this sloka, in the sense Kardama Muni tells, and this is Damena, Niyamena, this is being discussed and in Bhagavad Gita also and in Bhagavatam also. I'll just quote and then we'll get into more details of. So basically what Prabhupada explains is self-control is very important. Why self-control is important? Is basically self-control is controlling the mind mainly, and of course senses. So if you control the senses, control the mind, we are able to focus on worshipping the Lord through full devotion. That's the whole point. The controlling the mind, controlling the senses itself is not as important as worshipping the Lord. But problem is our mind keeps distracting and we get carried away due to influence of mind, the influence of Maya, and we get drifted from the Lord's service. We forget the Lord due to influence of mind and Maya. And that's the problem. Forgetful of the Lord is the problem. There's no other problem. Forgetful of the Lord and forgetfulness of the your identity as Lord's servant is the only problem. Now, because our mind keeps bothering us, mind nature is like that, and mind is nothing but our own impressions, past impression. So that keeps happening, and we minds in a current stage, unless we have advanced to the higher devotional platform, in a current early phase of devotion, so we are without any devotion, general karmis or even early phase of devotees also have this problem where mind will keep drifting us and act as a sort of enemy because it's taking us away from the Lord. So it's always Lord is here, you are here, mind keeps coming in between. That's all. Just to see in a very simple way. So mind is troubling you or mind is overruling you means you are unable to see the Lord. That's the flap in between. The moment you are able to come out of influence of mind, bad influence of mind, you are able to see the see in the same, worship him or understand. So that's the whole thing. So self-control, mind and senses, they are sort of related. Like senses are at a bodily, it's a gross part of the body. I mean, body is a gross, senses is little bit subtle than body gross, but senses are the as tools which you use to interact with the world. And mind controls is supposed to be controlling senses, but they are all interlinked. Like if senses, suppose you are getting distracted or you are seeing something which is very illusory or which is very provoking, you are seeing some poster or seeing something, then it means you are engaging your sense there. The moment you engage the sense there, your mind starts thinking about, contemplating on the, oh, I want it more. You start contemplating more and more to enjoy it more. And then senses get more excited. And then you start again mind. So it's like a vicious circle, mind, senses, mind, and gets into that and then it gets carried away. That's all. So mind keep contemplating on how to enjoy the senses, and the senses keep getting actually engaged in that activity, and goes on. So but then we, since we are attached to mind, since we are thinking we are body, we are mind, we are senses, we get attached to that and we gets carried away with that whole episode of sense enjoyment. And in that process, we lose focus on Lord's service, or we forget our identity. It's illusion. Now, illusion means we think what we are not. So we think I'm, enjoying that particular activity, material activity, and we get engrossed into that. Suppose we are seeing the movie, then we think that I'm the villain, I'm that hero, I'm that this, I'm that friend of the hero, like that. We keep identifying ourselves with that character in the film. That's the illusion. We are not actually that character, but we literally enjoy that way. That's a classic, easy to understand practical example, day-to-day example. But at a very subtle level, the same thing happens with our identity. We identify ourselves as so-called manager, so-called engineer, so-called doctor, so-called this, so-called businessman, so-called that. And we get engrossed into that role via media of mind. So self-control means mind control. How? So Prabhupada explains that in the purport. Damena, Shamena, Yamena. So we'll understand a little bit more. I'll just quote additional slokas which are exactly similar to this. There is one more sloka in Bhagavatam, 3rd chapter. Tapasa brahmacharena shamena cha damena cha tyagena satya shauchabhyam yamena niyamena va देहवाग बुद्धिजाम धीरा धर्मद्यः श्रद्धयान्विताः क्षिपत्यग्धम मद महदपि वेणुगुल्मन्मिना नलहा. The sloka says, I just read the translation also. It's very important because it's a similar sloka and it's more elaborate. To concentrate the mind, one must observe a life of celibacy and not fall down. One must undergo austerity of voluntarily giving up sense enjoyment. One must then control the mind and senses, give charity, be truthful, clean, non-violent, follow the regulatory principles, and regularly chant the holy name of the Lord. Thus, the sober and faithful person who knows the religious principles is temporarily purified of all sins performed with his body, words, mind. These scenes are like dried leaves of the creepers beneath of the bamboo tree, which may be burnt by fire, although their roots remain to grow again at the first opportunity. Very important shloka. It's similar thing where Shamena, Damena. So basically, okay, we'll just touch upon this thing. Damena, Niyamena, check. Damena means control of the senses. Super, right? Damena means control of the senses. Niyamena means rules and regulation which you have to follow. So basically, okay, to put it in a very little bit simple way, is basically Damena means control of senses means you should not do this. Do's and don'ts. So don'ts means control the senses. Don't get involved into seeing wrong thing. Don't get involved into testing wrong things, or say too much spicy food or too much non-vegetarian food, whatever. Like do's and don'ts. So do, yeah, Damena means you have to control the senses. Okay, don't get involved into illicit sense activities. So we follow this four negative principles, right? So they are like don't get involved in don't. They are like a domain. So what has given that formula? So they are not to get involved into those activities. You basically you have to control your sense to not to get involved into that prohibitive activities. And this is only at a very gross level for regular principle, but it's very subtle level also. We have to keep ourselves away from some of those activities. That is Damena. Niyamena means do, follow this. Niyamena means do's. So you do this, you rise early in the morning, schedule ahara vihara, control your tongue, control your this, control your that. So and get involved, discipline, make your life discipline, chant the prescribed 16 rounds. It's a niyam. Of course, 16 round chanting is not only niyam, it is much more about that. But I'm just telling. So we have to routine our life in a very positive way. We know that. We call it in a very crude way, we call it discipline, right? But Niyaman is of course much more than it's one of the part of the Ashtanga Yoga. There you have to control all this and regulate your life. So that's a, and then this shloka which I read just now from Bhagavatam, we have to observe the celibacy and then austerity. So austerity, as we discussed, austerity means voluntarily giving a little bit discomfort to the body in such a way that we are controlling that urge, excessive urge, and we are restricting yourself. So that's so basically observing the celibacy, observing the fasting, not mixing with too much non-devotees, okay, or karmis. Many things are there at a certain level. Core regulative principles are there, but there are many things beyond that. Okay, that is a tapasya, right? So this tapasya, damena, niyamena, what it will do? It will help us in controlling the mind. After controlling the mind, you will be able to focus on the Lord and His holy name. Of course, we have to understand it very carefully here. So damena, niyamena, or all these do's and don'ts, regulative principles are actually complementary to the main process of chanting. So that we should understand. As a devotee, we follow devotional path. So our main thing is chanting. So if you do chanting, if you follow basic four regulative principles, okay, to start with, basic in the sense, to start with, you have to start following basic and then start following higher regulative principles, more and more restriction, more and more damena niyamena. But to start with, but chanting is very important. Chanting is the real thing which will help us in even controlling the mind. So one is, see, it's like this. It's very technically important point we need to understand. So actually, just by chanting, we can come out of all this. Simple. Okay, because chanting means we are seeking Lord's mercy, so Lord's blessing, Lord's mercy, Lord's intervention to control the mind, to surrender ourselves, right? So once you surrender ourselves, we are actually getting into the real identity, as I discussed. What is that? I am soul. I'm eternal servant of Lord. I am soul. I'm not body. So this understanding will develop, because when you chant, Prabhupada has explained it. When you chant, what is our sort of consciousness? Is to surrender, to ask for Lord's mercy. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram. Hare is the Lord's internal potency, Lord's internal energy, which we are surrendering, saying that please take me, put me at the service of you. And we are asking that, praying that please help me in getting to surrendering to you, coming to you. That's the whole chanting process. Chanting process is actually just hearing about Lord's name. And Lord's name is not different from Lord. That is the first thing we have to understand when chanting. Of course, we have to chant. I'm getting into practical aspects. Of course, all of us know, but then I'm just to reiterate, or it will help us, because chanting means what? Basically, it's a hearing. Chanting is there. Of course, you are chanting also, Kirtana, but we are hearing more importantly. And the potency of sound, Lord's potencies are there in this 16 syllable mantra, which is sufficient to deliver, which is sufficient to take everything, take care of. Okay. So once you hear, and with that mood of surrender, aspiring that, no, I want to be your servant, I want to come to you. With that mood, with a simple focusing on chanting and hearing, okay, but that is a chanting. And then as we go, as we get matured into chanting, the bhava comes slowly. So it takes time. And then automatically it becomes so natural chanting, right? And then once you are attached to Lord, once your original identity is getting displayed, Lord gives all this knowledge and intelligence through internal, external, in the form of Guru. And then you develop that knowledge and renunciation. Everything comes automatically. Secondly, once you start chanting, that's the key. So renunciation will develop the moment you are attached to Lord. Simple. If you are attached to higher thing, you will reject the lower thing. That's our detachment. Detachment from the material. Lower thing is the material. Simple. As simple as that. But while chanting, just to mention that point also, while chanting, we should have clear understanding, or we should always keep contemplating on this point. Lord's name and Lord is non-different. And when you are chanting, Lord is there in front of us, and we are actually, interacting with Him. We are actually surrendering. We are actually, sort of, asking for His mercy. Once we keep this in mind, full faith in this shloka, there's a mention of Dhruvatasi Badram Damena Yamanacha Tapodravina Danasya Shraddhaha Cheshwaram Bhaja. With Shraddha, with faith. You should have faith in Lord, name, and Lord. That is sufficient to take care of everything. We should have faith in saying that Lord is not different from His name, and His name is capable of, Harinam is capable of delivering me of anything. That firm faith, if we have got, and we are very clear that Lord's name and Lord is non-different, with a service attitude, if you keep chanting and focusing on hearing, rest is taken care. Now, Dhamena, Niyamena, all these things are complementary in the sense ki, because we have to show that seriousness, right? So we have to show that, yes, I am taking your name. I want liberation from all these material bands of life, and I want to come to you. And as a token of that, we should show that, yes, I am ready to take pain, little bit, I will not call it pain, a little bit discomfort for body, senses, mind, little bit discomfort, to say that, yes, I'm ready to see. It's like this simple, right? So it's a common sense thing, sort of thing. Suppose we are two friends, right? Now, when that friendship can be said, real friendship, when there is a incidence of some help needed. Suppose one friend gets admitted to hospital. So the real friendship will get manifested, or it will get proved only if the other friend who is normal, he should go and help that friend. Then only that help. So he is ready to take some discomfort for the friendship. Simple. Same thing is here. Lord is our friend, right? That is our father, is our friend, whatever you call. So for that, we have to say that, yes, I want to take this discomfort, voluntary discomfort for you. We have to show that desire. We have to show that, prove that yes, and the Lord will give us that then benediction that yes, this soul is trying to come to me sincerely, right? By taking yamena, diyamena, by rejecting those so-called attractions, because we have to reach. Sometimes we have to reject those so-called attraction for want of something. So in a friendship also, I'm just continue the example. In friendship also, you have to do sacrifice. So you have to sacrifice. So you basically sacrifice. Damena, niyamena. There also you are sacrificing your so-called opportunity of sense enjoyment. You are sacrificing your so-called materialistic pleasure, which are so much attached to. You are sacrificing a lot of our mental, need, so-called mental need, which we tend to enjoy at a materialistic platform, right? So those sacrifices are what you have to show that yes, I'm ready to do this sacrifice in this form. I'm ready to sacrifice for one day by fasting, right? So that is but secondary. That's all complementary. They are important. Without that, if you don't show that eagerness, if you don't prove that yes, I'm ready to take little bit trouble for getting Lord's mercy, then how you will get the mercy? So that is why. But of course, that's a secondary in the sense first chanting, and chanting will ensure everything. That will also develop. That will also develop intelligence. That will only give power even to do the austerities. It's all about chanting. That's very clear. That's why in this shloka also, although yamena, niyamena, damena, niyamena is mentioned, but the final purpose of all doing all this self-control, damena, niyamena, is to sadhya cheshwaram bhaja. Means after you, hence you should worship the Lord. So worshipping the Lord is the final goal. Surrendering to Lord is the final goal. Damena niyamena is a means to do that. And of course, that's very important. But that is sort of to have self-control. That will help you. Chanting of the worshipping of God, whatever way. No, Sravana Kirtana Vishnu Smarana like that, right? So this worship, right? So that is the way we should look at this. And devotee, Karma Muni is instructing devotee, you are already on that platform, you already proved yourself. Continue doing this, damena, niyamena. Continue, but to ultimately worship the Lord, and you will be coming out of these times. Of course, where she has to go, she is herself is going to get Lord as her son. And next is basically Lord Kapila explains Mother Devotee about the Sankhya philosophy, and that's part of major, very important philosophical aspect of Bhagavatam. Philosophical in the sense, ultimately to teach to the devotional service, right? But that's very important philosophy, which we know, and it will come in the next chapters, right? So this is the conversation, this is the discussion point on these shlokas. And so just to summarize, devotee was lamenting, but it's more of a humility. She's already at higher platform, but Kardama, and she was sort of worried about Kardama losing Kardama Muni's association, losing the saintly people association is the biggest problem in the world. That's the biggest danger. We should always remain aloof. It is getting explained here, right? Devotee was not worried about her bodily discomfort, really. She worried about Kardama Muni losing Kardama Muni's association, saintly person, devotee association, satsanga association. Losing the satsanga is the biggest danger in the world. Nothing else is dangerous than this. That is being explained by Prabhupada or even many places very clearly. And we know this, like we know as a devotees how discomfortable it is to lose devotee association. So first point, we should make sure that we are in devotee association. Then everything will follow. Your chanting quality will increase. We'll continue chanting. Four-legged principle will be easy to follow. Surrender become very easy to do if we are in a right association under the shelter of right Shiksha Gurus, Diksha Gurus, and all those great personality. Why? Because that's a simple thing. It's very simple. Devotional life is very simple in one sense. Why? Because just we have to surrender to Guru and Lord. And we have to ensure that we are in right association. Okay. And the rest is taken care of. So here also it's just a continuing summary. Devotee is lamenting for really for losing the association of Kardama Muni. But anyway, Kardama Muni has assured her she has done service to devotees, service to Lord, service to Kardama Muni himself as a devotee beyond any self selfishness. And that's she has already qualified, and he's telling her to continue those Damena Niyamana as an important thing, but with the clear goal of worshipping the Lord. Bhaja. Bhaja means actually worshipping or surrendering, right? So with that goal, and he's assuring her, and that's assurance for us also. If we continue serving, if you continue Yamena, Niyamena, Damena with under proper guidance, Prabhupada already given regulatory principle, all of that, but with a clear goal of continuously chanting that you are watching a lot, we are also assured of the success of achieving the Lord's lotus feet. So that is the discussion point. So I will stop here. That's what I wanted to share. And we'll go to question answer. Before that, request Vidura Prabhuji to add or correct if something was to be corrected, and give his further guidance on this. Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. So very nice class, Prabhu. So very mature class. So nothing specific to add.
Krishna Prabhu, Danvatana.
Yes, Prabhu.
I just remembered on Prabhupada Leela, which highlights this point. So like you beautifully said, right? The idea of doing all this is to come to the soul platform, not the body platform. And therefore, there's a process for everything, come to the soul platform. And you also nicely said, therefore what? Is it soul platform enough? And when you said, doing all these things is to actually do worship of the Lord's, the nature of the soul being part and parcel of the Lord is to serve the whole. And therefore, it is natural for the soul to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is the logical conclusion. So that you nicely said. So that on pastime of Prabhupada, I will just quickly in a minute, I will say that came to my mind when you were speaking this. So the idea is, there was one time when in the night, Prabhupada and some of his disciples were, sleeping. So it may be around 1 o'clock or something like that. I don't know. Prabhupada generally goes to bed also late, but then around 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock, something like that, Prabhupada had got up. So this disciple of Prabhupada was sleeping, but he thought, okay, it's still in the night. So he woke up, he saw Prabhupada sitting. Normally a disciple's mood has to be, my spiritual master is up, I should get up also and sit or whatever. So he thought, okay, it is still night, let me continue to sleep. Let me continue to sleep or like that. So he acted as though he's sleeping and he was continuing to sleep like that. So Prabhupada was sitting, he had not switched on the light because in his mind, because these other boys were sleeping, so he didn't want to disturb. But somewhere this devotee, he showed some, he was awake naturally, right? But so somehow he made some movement which made Prabhupada realize that he was awake. And therefore immediately Prabhupada switched on the light. So he sort of, then he couldn't act any further. He got up from the thing. So then he was saying, Prabhupada, you are not sleeping, it's whatever like this, like maybe 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock, something like that. The boy says, this is the narration by the devotee himself, in the thing, which is, I'm saying this because he himself said it. Then Prabhupada told him, see, our business is to have no eating, no mating, no sleeping, and no protecting. He said, we don't say this, but that is our motive. So Prabhupada was like up and he wanted to continue with this devotional life. So that means completely living in the soul platform, not in the body platform. So that one small pastime, and this devotee recalled this to say how Prabhupada was actually in that platform and how the idea is actually to get there. So I thought I would share. Hare Krishna, Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna. Thanks, Prabhuji. That's a wonderful pastime. Yes, that. But yes, just to add, like since Prabhuji brought the Prabhupada, I think we should read Prabhupada Lilamrut also equally side by side, also along with Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita almost daily, because that will give the practical, in the sense that like Prabhupada was a Acharya and we have seen him in the sense like he's there in current modern day Acharya. So that will definitely use impact. Yes, Prabhuji. I think we should read Prabhupada Lilamrut, and all devotees here, they should purchase Prabhupada Lilamrut copy quickly and start reading it. That's a takeaway. That's very important. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hare
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Dandot Pranam. Very nice class. Actually, just I was also reading some last week that mind, as you said, mind and senses. Mind only is a main problem. Means the Lord says that Mama Vase Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana Manashashtani Indriyani. That I am just able to correlate that one. And as you said that all these objectives are that towards the bhajate of the Lord. In that Radhesham Prabhu also quoted one beautiful shloka that Smartavyam Satatam Vishnu Vismartayo no Jatuchit Sarve Vidhi Nishadasur Etayavar Kinkara, means that all these principles of Shastra and regulatory principles following devotional service is that to remember the Lord always. There are practical difficulties everybody need to improve. So that just I wanted to share my understanding, Prabhu. Yes, it is very nice. Yeah. Thank you, Prabhu. Dandat Pranam.
Nice example. Hare Krishna. So any further comment, questions?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Pranam.
Dandat Pranam. Yes, Prabhu.
Prabhu, wonderful, very wonderful class, Prabhu. Please help me understand, like as you said, like Kardam Muni was given by Brahma to give to increase the progeny and other things. So how do we correlate this? Like normally it is said that we humans all like we were against here the Brahma is saying to increase the progeny. So coming out from Kardama or other further, are they also rebelled against Krishna and they come? How do you understand this, Prabhu? How do you correlate this?
Okay, there was a disturbance in the voice, but let me repeat my understanding of the question first. So basically what you are saying is Kardama Muni was told by Lord himself to create a progeny, and we are saying that the human being, birth of human being in material world itself is not a very auspicious thing, but how come he was given the task of creating further progeny? Is that the question, right, Prabhuji? Because there was a disturbance in the voice.
Prabhu, like Kardama Muni was asked to increase the progeny.
Prabhuji, actually,
And
your
here
voice
we humans, like normally it is rebels. Yeah.
your voice.
Sorry, Prabhu. Now it's clear, Prabhu.
Okay, you
Haribol.
continue. Let's see.
Yeah. Now actually, like we humans, we rebel against Krishna, so we are put on this Kali Yuga earth, like, isn't it, Prabhu? And how do we understand? How do we correlate this? Like Karma has to increase the progeny. So the progeny who are coming there, like they also rebelled against Krishna, so they have been put there. How do you understand this, Prabhu?
Yeah, I got your question. I believe I got your question. That's what I said. Like, how do you correlate? You are seeing apparent contradiction of human being as a rebellion. That's why we are here. And secondly, Prajapatis are engaged into creating this progeny or human beings. So that's apparent contradiction is how to see. That's what. So I will try to sort of put some thoughts on that. Prabhuji also can add. So basically, see, Lord, that way whole material world itself is not required if we are not rebellious, right? So whole material world is meant for bondage living entity, but the jivas, they are, it's meant for. Lord creates it. It's like a father giving some toy to the son or giving some facility to the son because son want it. Father knows it is not really required or it's not really advisable to son, but he does that. Why? Because son is, he doesn't want to intervene the son's mind independence. So he facilitates as a very merciful, loving father, right? So he may give apparently some things, he may facilitate the son with the undesired thing apparently because undesired from son's point of view. He may do that because he wants, son wants, but he will make it in such a way that next time son will not ask or son will get enough learning, okay, so that to understand that whatever he's asking, son, whatever son is asking is not good for him. But Lord gives that material world with all that knowledge and with all that facilitation, saying that, okay, you enjoy this material world in a rebellion attitude, but some point of time you have to understand, you will understand that you are not the Lord, you are not a God, you are actually servant of God, and he should come to me, means he should go back to the spiritual world. The soul has to go back. That is the way material world has been made. So it's itself is Lord pastime because it's a pastime. Why? Because although from living entity's point of view, it is not very auspicious to come in material world, but living entity want it. So Lord want to give it as a loving father, but with enough precaution, enough knowledge in that material world that this is not your right place. But you want to enjoy it, enjoy, learn, understand, and come back to me with that knowledge. Come back to me. But it's the whole creation itself is a Lord's pastime. Why? Because it's Lord want it. And whoever helps him in doing so, not only doing so, but whoever helps him in creating this material world, so-called creating the bodies of this material world, but simultaneously teaching those living entities that this is not your real place. This is material world is characterized by Janma to Jaravadi. Go back to Lord. Is also equally important and equally transcendental. It's also service to the Lord. The whole material world is controlled by Maya, Durga Devi. Now, is she bad? No. She is not bad. She is actually devotee of Lord. But she is doing all this. Why? Because that's her. She's serving the Lord. Because Lord wants this. Why Lord wants this? Because he loves his son. Why you want to give his son? He doesn't want to intervene in his minute freedom. But with precaution, Lord gives this material world, facilitates us, but with sufficient, learning, sufficient, onslaught of Mayas also are given, sufficient troubles are there so that you don't get carried away and get completely drifted away from Lord. He makes sure that you will come to me, living entity come. So that's this material world is created perfectly imperfect. That is the way to see it. It's perfect, but it's imperfect. It's imperfect from living entity point of view. It's perfect from Lord's purpose, its objective point of view. So there's no contradiction here. There's no contradiction. It's very simple. So living entities are rebellion, all that. They want it, but they have to be given that facility because they need to go through all that bad or whatever experience and come back to the Lord. So coming back to the Lord is a final ultimate aim of this material world also. So there is a transcendental purpose of Lord giving this material world. Living entities come, but the Prajapatis, Brahmas, and all those who are actually assisting Lord as a secondary creation, they are all transcendental. They are helping Lord. They are serving Lord. They are not doing anything wrong. Living entity is doing something wrong, which he has to realize, but he has to go through all that process of material creation, experiencing it, getting knowledge, and getting liberated. That's the process. So, contradiction. I don't know whether I am able to explain that. Prabhuji, are you okay with that? You want some more understand? Maybe Prabhuji also can add. Yes, Prabhuji, Shivkumar Prabhuji. Who asked?
Yes, Prabhu. Yeah, it's very much clear, Prabhu. What I understood is like Kardama Muni and others, they were doing the service to the Lord, and for that reason, and we were rebellious, so we were put here. So it's like a different thing. It's not the same. What I was thinking that why he was creating so much of progeny. So that was my confusion. Like the progeny who are going to come further in future also, they were all rebellious, so they were put there, something like that was on my mind. No, it was not like that. So it was a service to the Lord that to create. I'm right, Prabhu?
Yes, yes. They are doing service to Lord. These Prajapati, Brahmas and Manus are. I'll give simple one more example which will help. Suppose there is a jail, right? Prabhupada gives this example very clearly many times. Jail is there, right? Jail is part of the government's one agency, right? Jail, police department, right? They put in jail if somebody does some mischief. Okay, right? So now there are jail servants also, jail warden, police, jail gatekeeper, all those are there, police, all whole mechanism is there, which is working under government. Now, just because the jail warden is putting the living into jail, but he doesn't want to put them there. He's not doing any wrong thing with these, prisoners. Prisoners have done the wrong. The government want to put them behind the bar because they don't create disturbance, and they should rectify their mentality and come out of jail, right? So in that process, the jail warden, police, they are helping government to do that. To do what? To put prisoners inside the bar and then rectify there. Are they at fault? No, because they are helping government. So they are not at fault. And they are not the wrong, they are not doing anything wrong. Like that, we have to understand. So this material world, Prabhupada gives an example, this material world is like a jail. And we are living entities, rebellious living like a prison. We have come here due to our own past karma granthis and due to our intense desire to enjoy the material life. We have been put into material world. Now the whole idea is you have to come out by voluntary rectifying our voluntary doing our tapasya, voluntary doing all these samena, dhyana, and dhamena, and then ultimately chanting the letter. We come out. That is to improve our consciousness, going back to the Lord's service. We come out. In all that, whoever assist the Lord or whoever assist in government, they are not. They are service to Lord. There is no problem with that.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Danda Pranam. Jai.
Okay. So, any further questions? Otherwise, we can close the session if there are no further questions. Okay, so I think we'll close the session. Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Prabhupada ki jai. Thanks all devotees for your auspicious presence, and we'll continue the discussion in coming session. Hare Krishna.